like this. Now a nigga getting rich. I swear every day we lit.
Every day we lit. Hey everybody, welcome back to Ballers World Live. Just playing with it, yeah. Welcome back to Ballers World Live, everybody. This is your host James Ship. Welcome back, and we have another special guest in the studio, Adam Quinter.
Welcome.
My brother, trainer extraordinaire, just beast creator, the creator of Beast. How you doing, my man?
I'm good. How you guys?
About to move up a little bit. Move up. Yeah.
He gave you the
You cool,
extraordinaire piece.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
chilling.
Trying
He's
to-
Swag.
like, you know how I'm doing.
Mark, I know they have a lot of training questions. My question is, I read that you're working on a mobile basketball academy.
Yeah.
What is that project? How did it get started? What are the details?
Really just started last year. There's a couple guys coming out with some apps, kind of cool I saw, and I always had this idea, or
Sorry, I had to drop balls, bro. Shout out balls, bro. Go
I
ahead.
always had this idea, like, guys had academies in certain spots. So I was like, what if you had an academy and it was everywhere? And you're training and doing all the right things for, I don't want to make it sound bad, but
You can make it sound bad. It's fine.
yeah, like AAU circuit is so
Trash.
It's
right now it's
Trash.
and
It's
people are
trash.
starting to notice.
Yeah.
And it's going in that direction where Kobe is starting a fundamental camp or league, right? And so it's kind of along those lines of where our game could finally get it through to back and go back to the
Well, it's getting back to the
fundamentals.
basics, the fundamentals. When we grew up, in practice, it's great to see that someone like yourself is seeing where that need is, and filling that gap. But when we grew up, it was, when practice started, hell, we go 2 weeks without touching a basketball. Before you even got engaged with ball movement, it was learning where your teammates were, where to go, set screens, proper footwork, all of those things. And I think as a culture, because everything's such a fast pace and it's entertainment now, they don't see today's generation doesn't see the need. And it's not the kids' fault. It goes back to coaching, because they're only going to do what they're allowed to do. And that's the culture now, where there's not a focus on fundamentals.
Right. When's the last time you saw a drill with no ball?
Never.
Man.
not since I last
When
played
they
in
stretch in
college.
the warm up like that.
When
I was in college, bro.
When's the last time you saw people go through like long stretching regimens
Exactly.
and warm-ups?
Exactly. They don't do it.
AAU
Never.
circuit?
And it's funny you talk about the stretching. I remember when we were in high school, our whole practices started with stretching. The first 30 minutes of practice, you stretched, you got warmed up. Now they just roll the ball out and they start running and playing. And then you also wonder why you have such a high risk of, not high risk, but high rate of injuries right now among these young kids. A lot of people say it's because they're playing a lot of games, possibly, but I really think a lot of it is they're not taking the proper protocol to prevent injuries to begin with.
Right. And I feel like that's what I want to teach, and that's why I kind of went into like that tech realm.
Yeah.
Because now they're coming out with all these wearables
Right.
that can tell you, you're not ready to play.
Right.
You played 6 odd games today. Like, you're not
Time
ready
to chill.
go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you end up getting these kids injured.
Correct.
Right.
So I feel like that's the kind of the streamline to go now with basketball fundamentals.
And one of the things I love about just even following you on Instagram and seeing some of the training regimens you do, it's really intensive in that it's small movements, it's fast movements, but they're all very controlled, and it's not just a lot of running around. You see a lot of these workouts where they're just like, cross training type stuff. Pick up a tire and everybody throw a tire. Throw the tire.
You got to crawl before you can run, right?
Man.
So I like to take my people on the ground first, because you have all this adaptation that people don't do anymore. And it's like you haven't hit the floor since you were a baby.
Yeah.
Doing crawling, movements, getting up off the ground. Like, if you get a lineman in the NFL, ask him how many times he can get off the ground. It's a lot, because he gets hit, goes to the ground, gets up. You ask a basketball player that, not too many times, right?
That's
Kinda
I never
interesting.
thought. I've
Never
never
even
thought
think
of it from
about
that
it like that.
perspective at all. No.
That's why basketball's better.
That's right.
Less impact, it definitely is.
Ain't on the ground all the damn time.
Right, exactly. I mean,
Well-
unless you're like Westbrook or somebody that's, on attack,
Constantly attack.
getting fouled all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a big guy, you're not on the ground that much.
No.
Right. So
No, usually
I
your
try to get
guards.
them on the ground, get them on those fundamental movements,
Yeah.
so that when they do face that reality or they get hit in the lane, they're able to brace
Correct.
and able to use all those
To absorb
muscles
that,
to
exactly.
absorb
And-
all that
yeah.
stuff.
And one of the things that you train, and you're going to be able to speak on this a lot better than I can, a lot of the injuries and pains and weaknesses that we have in the body, they're not necessarily like, oh, my leg hurts, but it's not really your leg. It's your pinky toe. And if you
Yeah.
fix that pinky, then boop,
Right.
your leg stops hurting.
And there's tons of assessments that you got to go through, especially NBA players, like
Correct.
like the feet. Like nobody looks at the feet. That's your first contact, that you have to the ground.
Absolutely.
You're running on that ground. You're jumping off that ground, right? And so you got to look in the feet, and it's like you're absolutely right. You have a toe that's not flexible or pliable. Like what's wrong in your shoulder? Like that could be affecting the whole chain all the way across the body. But you wouldn't know that unless you got them on the ground and assess the whole body. Right?
Correct.
Alexis is like, wow,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
deep.
like mind blown
your
right
mind
now.
blown?
Yeah,
She's
it
like,
is. I'm
my
sitting
shoulder
here
does
just
hurt,
Yeah.
and my pinky toe don't work.
I'm like,
Yeah.
man, it
Yeah.
must be like.
And it's
I'm
actually
sitting here just.
it happens a lot too, and it's a very common thing. So that's why guys actually are attracted to my work, is because I'll find their missing link,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, I wish I would have knew that like
This
5
whole
years
time.
ago. I would have got paid.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know I had a lot of knee problems coming up, and I found out that it was a lot of weakness in like my back and in my hips and stuff like that actually led to the weakness in my knees.
Sounds like you had old man syndrome.
Listen,
Yeah,
I had
exactly.
old man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My
He's
back
trying
and
to
my
cover it up.
knees.
That's why you
know?
gotta you gotta think
my
about
back and my
dunking,
knees hurt.
right?
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
think about dunking now. You're like,
Yeah, no,
Oh
I
yeah, I
choose-
remember
I pick
them
and
days
choose.
when
Oh
they
no,
used
no,
to
no.
just running, jumping, dunking, and it's
Woo.
like
I know,
I
right?
remember when I was overseas, it's like, man, I gotta jump and do this. When you're
Right.
young, it's just like it's nothing,
didn't
you
even
know.
think about
And
it.
when you're older, it's like you gotta put all this energy in just to do it, you know. And
Right.
at that point, that's when I started realizing. Also, it was probably like around 26, 27. It's like, yo, you got to start changing your regimen up, even how you eat, which is what I want to get into next. Because oftentimes, you can see these athletes and you see chiseled bodies and things like that physically, but when you talk about the endurance, what I was noticing in games is that, man, fourth quarter, gassed, And it's
Yeah.
like, I've been training, I'm running, I'm in shape. That wasn't what was this. What are you putting in your body
Right.
that can allow you to, have that fuel in the fourth? So how are you when it comes, what is your philosophy, or when it comes to eating and what you're putting in your body? Because you see all these crazy supplements these kids are on, they're putting all this crap in their body, and it's like, yo, you're not thinking about how that's going to affect you 10, 15 years from now.
Right. Where I go with that is, you get an NBA guy or that just thinks he could eat everything in the world, and then you get these young kids and they're watching that and they're like, oh, he can eat everything, I can eat everything.
Yeah.
And so you have to really start from the ground up with that, with actually teaching them habits, because some of these kids are coming from inner city communities where they're getting a lot of McDonald's and Carl's Jr., whatever they're eating.
That's how
Oh
they
my
do it.
gosh, poison.
If you can just let them drink one more glass of water a day, and then progress that into, okay, now I'm eating eggs and bacon in the morning. Most of these kids going to school, they just running out the door. They grabbing a Gatorade.
Right.
It's like, no, you need the proper nutrients. But you have to start with a habit, because if you build too many habits at once, like they're not going to it's not going to be receptive to them.
Yeah.
But if you start with one, and then you get two, and then you get
Three.
and it's like a snowball
Right.
effect. Yeah.
And then you just got a bunch of LeBron Jameses running around.
Right.
You
And
got all
now
those little
it's like-
kids just
Yeah,
Like, what
going
kind of
towards that
crowd is-
vegan thing
that's why
now
you see
too.
these 17-year-olds is bigger than kind of.
Unbelievable.
it's something in the food.
Unbelievable.
Well, we got to go to break.
But you're gonna
it's
be
been
back
great.
with us. He's gonna be back with us.
He's
I
gonna
think,
be
in the
back.
next
Okay,
segment.
we'll
Yeah.
be back on the next segment.
That'd be great.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Well, we'll be right back. DJ Mystery, take us out.